Hello and welcome to Creative Frequency, the show sharing the unconventional routes and unforgettable stories from artists making new waves in their creative careers. I'm Izzie Smith, and as a local artist myself, it's my mission to amplify unheard voices and demystify artistic careers by chatting to other creatives about their first-hand experiences. This episode, we have a bumper pack session because we're going to be talking to actor, writer and creative wellbeing practitioner, Nicki Davy. Thank you so much for joining us in the studio, Nicki.
You're very welcome.
I feel like it's only fair that we start by saying that we've known each other a really long time.
Yes, we have.
So it feels extra special to get to chat to you and actually the fact that what's really special about your career in particular is you don't just wear one hat, and what that looks and feels like, I think, can be quite intimidating for people. So before we get into all of that, I'm going to ask the most awkward question that everybody hates. I'm going to ask who Nicki Davy is. Who are you? How would you like to be known?
Okay, I'm an actor, I'm a writer, I care about people's well-being, I'm a creative being, if you like. If there's creating to be done, then I'm there.
You have done so many different projects in a fairly short time frame, actually.
Yeah.
But your career didn't start in the arts, did it? Am I right in remembering that right?
Yeah.
So when you think about what you do and those different roles you play, how do you describe your work, you know, maybe back then, and how does it compare to now?
There's a bit of a running joke in my household that I'm a quitter, that I just quit loads of things.
No, that's the last word I would pick to describe you,
yeah,
honestly.
Cool, thank you. No, I've even got it written on a badge at home.
Proud quitter.
Proud quitter. I like the creative freelance lifestyle because it allows me to move between different projects. So I started out as an English teacher, a secondary English teacher, and found that being in the same place at the same time every day, day in, day out, like completely regimented, wasn't working for me at all. So I knew that, but I didn't know where I was going to go to. So I guess there's links between what I do now and what I did then, in that when I went into my interview as an English teacher, I was talking a lot about wanting to like inspire the kids and be creative and, you know, look at Shakespeare but get it up on its feet, because if you sit and read Shakespeare it means nothing. So let's get up, like let's talk about the characters, let's talk about what they're actually saying here, like not the poetry of it, like the humanity of it. And I remember saying all this in my interview and then being like, yeah, we're all over that, great. And then I got in there and it's just not like that. Obviously it's a system, and so I found going in there with all of that creative energy was just like, oh, this isn't the place for it. Yeah. But I suppose that's the thing that I've brought forwards into being an actor, is like I want to, inspire's one of those words, isn't it? It can sound a bit egotistical, but like I want to show people creativity so that they can create their own stuff. Yeah. Like, and to not, it doesn't need to be gatekeeped, if you like. That's what I wanted to do in teaching. I couldn't do it in teaching. So then I went out and I was like, what can I do creatively that might inspire other people?
And so why did acting feel right to you when you sort of started building your creative career?
I'm very, very lucky, very privileged in the sense that my mum took me to a lot of theatre when I was younger. So I remember seeing some stuff and like I didn't really get it, but I was like, oh, I love being in this building. So for me, the acting, it's the theatre that really got me. I know a lot of people see TV or film and they're like, I want to do that. I'm like, no, it was all about theatre for me. And then I did Amdram for a while. Yeah. I did pantomime for like 5 years. But it was it's a group called Manor Operatic Society in Sheffield, and they played at City Hall, which is like a 2,000-seater. So it felt really like, oh my God, you know, I'm on stage. Like I had to ride a camel in one show, like a real life camel. And they had like, yeah, that's another story. I fell off the camel and like almost broke my ankle on stage. And I was 17.
Near the lighting rigs if you're on a camel. Yeah, they're pretty high, aren't they?
Big. It was pretty big. And then I just didn't do it. Like after uni, I just kind of dropped out of that scene, if you like. And then it was after I had my kids that I started to reevaluate, what is it that I actually want to be doing here? And one of the songs that I've chosen actually for this, the reason I chose it is because it was the first song that I did at an open mic night with my brother-in-law, who plays guitar beautifully. And I was like, I'm really nervous about getting back into possibly performing. So like, let's do a bit of open mic. And then was like, ooh, this feels fun. This feels connected. So just started dipping my toe into other stuff, and then got some acting classes, and then blah, 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 and it just went from there really. So I didn't do the drama school thing, didn't go down that traditional route at all. I was very lucky that I had a very supportive family. A lot of it has been luck, a lot of it's been hard work, but I definitely, if I hadn't put myself out there to do the smaller things and to go, ooh, how does this feel, then it wouldn't have snowballed in the way that it did. So
that really reminds me of, like, you know, people say rather than like jumping out your comfort zone, you need to like slowly ease, and there's like different layers of comfort zone.
Yeah.
And like you can expand it, but only by doing it in a gentle, kind way that doesn't shock your body.
Yeah.
I think like really cool idea to just be like, well, let's do an open mic because it's low pressure. It's a really supportive space, open mics, and you get a sense of what works, what doesn't, what you like. Maybe the like the style of performing that resonates with you. Yeah. But it does require you to be like, cool, I've got to do this.
Yeah.
Like, I need to earn, if this is what I want to do, it needs to be me doing something towards it.
Yeah. I think that's it. I mean, I was absolutely terrified doing that open mic. I don't, you know, for all that I did Amdram and stuff, I was singing in crowds. So putting myself out there and going, well, I'm scared to do this. So if I do that, I know that then this won't be so scary over here. Because for me, singing is the most vulnerable thing that I can do. It's certainly easier playing someone else, you know, it certainly is, especially when you've got lines to remember and marks to hit and all of that stuff. It's like you're so far removed from yourself in that sense. But singing is not the same as playing an instrument for me. If you're playing an instrument, for instance, I play piano, it's like it's out there, you're pressing the keys on a piano, whereas a voice comes from you. So for me, there was something about that. There was something about an authentic voice, which is actually quite central to like the way that I want to create art anyway, and the way I want to live my life is like being authentic. So yeah, I figured for me that was the hurdle I needed to cross.
I think it's really interesting how you say you feel more maybe grounded by things like a piano, because I guess your focus is external.
Absolutely.
But with your voice, like, it does always come back to you and your body, and I think that can be really intimidating if you're not someone that's used to connecting with your body, because we live in a world that sort of encourages you not to.
Yeah. And I think the best actors across the world like are the ones where you can see that they are connected. Like they're connected with themselves, but they're also connected with their audience, or they're connected with their art form or whatever. But it's part of what puts people off the creative industries in general, I think, is that people think there's a lot of ego in it. And there can be. Yeah. You know, there really, really can be. But that's not everyone. And not everyone's there just to go, look at me. Like, some people are genuinely there because they're like, no, I want to do this piece justice, or I want to connect with this particular theme, or I want to talk about something authentic or something that's important to me, and I want that to connect with other people.
100%. And I think as you build a career, you begin to recognise the community around you and whether they encourage or discourage your authenticity.
Yes.
Should we have your first song? You kind of mentioned it earlier, but just remind us what you've picked first and why.
So I first heard this song on a Radio 6 show like maybe 10 years ago, maybe even longer ago than that. A woman called Izzie Mitchell, who I had never heard of before. And this song came on and I was like, what is this? This is incredible. As I say, I then chose to do it at an open mic. It turns out it's actually from a show called Hadestown, which is, I can talk about that till the end of time. It's the most incredible show. And I didn't know there was a link there. I only saw Hadestown in the last 6 months. So it's like this song was in my life at an important time then, and it's in my life now in a different form. And yeah, so it had to be the one.
That was Izzie Mitchell with Why We Build the Wall. And we are chatting to creative practitioner, actor and writer Nicki Davy in the studio. Tell us more about some of the acting and writing work that you've done, because you've brought some really personal stories to life that, and I've seen them, and I'm not being biased, but they were stunning and they've inspired my own work. Tell us about that process of...
Yeah, I mean, I've done all sorts of stuff. Like when I first started, I did profit shares, so no one gets paid a flat rate. We all just take a little bit of money out of the pot at the end. And I've done some touring kids stuff. So I did all of this stuff for other people, and I always knew that I wanted to write as well. But again, there was a sort of a confidence barrier there. And for me, there's something easier about writing from what I know, or writing from a stimulus, if you like. So the first one that I did about my own life was, I'm reviving it actually, was about an elderly male who'd moved into a care home, which was fairly reflective of my own life at the time. And it was just a one-woman kind of 10, 15-minute piece. There's something really cathartic about it, to process the stuff that I was feeling in that moment. And the feedback that we got from it was like, it really touched people. And for me, that's the best compliment that you can get off the back of your own writing, is like someone else goes, I feel that. It's like, cool, yeah, that's what it's about. So that was me dipping my toe into that for the first time. And then there was a longer piece, which I did at Leeds Playhouse a couple of years ago, which was about a family member, and that was a historical play to some degree, which involved poetry and puppetry and almost stand-up-y type stuff as well. So it involved loads of different stuff. That went really well, but it was a huge period of my life that I spent writing it and rewriting it and staging it. And after that, I'd taken quite a break from writing or performing, because it was exhausting. It was a huge project, a huge undertaking. And I think I'd got like quite confident off the back of doing Orpheus, my first piece. I was like, oh yeah, this is easy, I can do this, it's fine. And then coming into a huge, like quite a, not a large scale production, but certainly a very professional production, and needing to hold all of that and the emotional journey of talking about a family member. Yeah, it was emotionally draining. It was physically draining. And so I needed to take a big step back from it after that.
And I think that may have surprised people in your life, because as an outsider, it's really easy to see that as a blind success. And of course it was a stunning piece of work. But that doesn't mean that it didn't come with, as you say, that heaviness and that potential burnout. And I wonder how much that experience maybe inspired your shift and your evolution in your career and what you chose to focus on later, because it maybe wasn't as sustainable to work in that way.
Yeah. A lot came together at the same time there after that production finished, and it really made me reevaluate how I was living my life. Burnout is a huge, huge thing in this industry. And I think that, again, looking at it from the outside, I'm sure people would be like, oh, come on, you're just making plays. And it's like, but there's an emotional drain on it. There's a financial drain as well. Oh, my God. And so a lot of things came together there, and I felt the need to step away. And it became really, really clear to me that it doesn't need to be like that. The movement that I started to make into well-being partly came from my own stuff, but also came from the fact that this industry asks a lot of people. You know, we send off self-tapes that we never hear back from. We might go to auditions in person and never hear back from them. Actors are like, we're disposable, quite frankly. I don't want to put a downer on it, you know, but there has to be a reason why you do it then. There has to be that drive behind it. And I think that drive is sometimes pushing people into places where they feel they have to be on it all the time. You know, and I don't mean to diminish the work that people do and the effort and the passion and the creativity that people put into things. But for me, it was about recognising that there are a lot of people within this industry who are creative people as well. There is a massive crossover with neurodivergence, and with that can come a higher risk of burnout. Once I took a step back from it, which was kind of enforced on me because I had this massive burnout, I was like, I can see things so much clearer now. And I knew then that I wanted to be able to help other people. I'm working and I'm earning, and at the same time going, what work do I want to create? What kind of industry do I want to work in? and then how can I create that niche for myself?
Yeah. So you're working with compassion and not resentment, which I think is really easy to do. It's so easy in this field, isn't it, to accept everything and then hate every minute of it.
Absolutely.
And end up really bitter.
Yeah.
So I really love that shift.
Yeah, for me, being able to tell stories, whether that's writing stories or performing stories or even telling the story of how someone communicates, is the best way of connecting with people. And for me, life is all about connection.
Yeah, I really love that. You've kind of mentioned already that you branched out into wellbeing as within the creative field still. Can you share more about that process?
So, as I say, off the back of Ava, the show at the Playhouse, I took a big step back. I started thinking about what it was that I might have needed more of during that production and then how I could maybe offer that to other people. I applied for some money through the Arts Council, and there's a scheme that they do called Developing Your Creative Practice, DYCP for short, and they will give you a pot of money to go and retrain effectively. So I applied as a wellbeing practitioner to develop as a wellbeing practitioner, and I got it, which was amazing. So I took a year of I got my mental health first aid qualification, for instance. I trained as a somatic coach. Somatics is just body work, so how our emotions show up in our body. What else did I do? I went and shadowed on some projects. I met some really fascinating people, and then I started working one-to-one with other creative professionals as a coach, but also just to be there, really. I think really so much is just about knowing that someone is there to hold space for you as an artist, as a creative. Because obviously there are therapists in the traditional sense. That's not what I do. I have a very specific skill set. I know about the arts, I know about mental health, and I know about connecting with people. So it's like I'm putting all of those together. Yeah, and then because I have such a beautiful community of people around me, then I've started working on productions as well as a wellbeing facilitator. So I did one last year, which was a research and development project, and I have one coming up as well called 93 Till Infinity, where I've been asked to go in and support their team in all things wellbeing, which is really exciting for me. It's like being on the other side of things. So there is always part of me that when I go into a rehearsal room, I'm like, oh, I'd like to be performing, I'd like to be creating over here. I'd like to be part of that. But actually there's something nice for me about standing back from that and being like, I'm contributing to the whole environment of this project. It's like, I'm not just here to do one thing. I'm here to like fight fires, or there to catch things before they catch fire. And there's a community ensemble coming in on this as well, and part of my role will be supporting them, and some of them will be first-time performers. Some of them will never have been in a theatre, and that's exciting for me. That's like, what are they bringing into this space, while also acknowledging that there might be some anxiety around that. The fact that I get to maybe facilitate that as a positive experience, their first experience of being in a theatre. That's ace.
Yeah.
That's ace.
Isn't it so interesting that like in TV and on stage, everybody's role is really specific, and yet there, up until very recently, has not been on that creative team list someone whose sole responsibility is the well-being of the team.
Yeah.
When people can budget in a wellbeing practitioner, it just alleviates that pressure off everybody, because there's that one person that can be there for people. And what's great is sometimes people won't even need it, because the work that's been done before they walk in the room by you and by that creative team have already facilitated a safer environment by default.
Yeah. I think that's really how I feel about it, is that actually I've got the easiest job in the world, because I'm like, yeah, I'm there if you need me, but you're not going to need me, because like the very fact that I'm here, the fact that these people have budgeted for well-being, the fact that they've acknowledged that it's a thing, means that then, at the beginning of projects, I go in and I do like a half day's workshop on setting up, what do we need this space to be like, and what coping strategies might you have in the case of X, Y, and Z, and really getting people present in the space. And that in itself might actually just be enough to see them through the 3 weeks of rehearsal. And then I might pop up again at production and be like, everyone okay? Yeah, great. Sometimes people are like, oh, well-being, yeah. You know, oh, you're just in there, you're just playing. And it's like, well, yeah, that's the good part of the job, is that we get to play. But actually what we're playing with is us. And so it's like, it's hugely exposing in all the senses sometimes. It's hugely exposing. And people are choosing to do it, often for very little money.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's what they deserve. They deserve this support. You know, you come and watch it. So don't tell me that these people don't deserve support. I also think it's worth saying that I think there's quite a lot of dangerous practice going on in the industry, and people who are potentially being encouraged to open up in certain ways that then isn't being held safely, which can lead to a lot of chaotic practices. It can lead to mental health issues, concerns. It can blur the line between reality and playing. And I think that's when things get sticky. For me, it's a kind of moral imperative that if you are asking things of people that put their mental health in some vulnerable space, you have a responsibility to make sure that they are safeguarded emotionally, not just physically.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Should we have another song?
Go on then.
What are we going to have this time, and why?
This is a little bit left field, this one. So, Alanis Morissette.
What a legend, by the way.
What a legend. I was really, really lucky to get to go to Glastonbury last year, and she played. And this album, my dad had it when I was a kid, and I remember listening to it and being like, what is this? This is incredible. But it had swears in it. Ooh. And I didn't understand some of the things she was talking about. But it was just there as like a sound of my childhood. And then it re-entered my life for some unknown reason about like 5 or 6 years ago. And now it's a firm favourite album. Jagged Little Pill is just the peak of angry women.
We're going to bring you some angry women over the airwaves. This is All I Really Want by Alanis Morissette. What an absolute banger that was. I really enjoyed that.
Oh, I love it.
I really want to round off by wanting to hear how people can get in touch with you if they want to work with you, if they want you as a wellbeing practitioner in their theatre space or any kind of production space, if they want to come to you with maybe specific kind of one-to-one work. Tell us how we can find you.
I think the best place is Instagram. Nicki Davy actor, or one word. That's probably a good starting point. Like, I like to connect with people on a personal level before I work with them, generally, because obviously the vibe is really, really important, particularly when you're working with wellbeing. So yeah, just drop me a message.
Thank you so much, Nicki, for inspiring us to focus on our own and other people's wellbeing in a creative space. I hope this episode with Nicki has inspired you to tune into your own creative frequency. I'm Izzie Smith, and as always, a huge thank you to the BCB team for their continued support, and thanks to you for listening. Tune in next time to hear another artist share their unconventional roots and unforgettable stories as they make new waves in their creative vocation.